It has been 3 days since a massive explosion at a facility that packages motor oil and lubricants. That led to an evacuation in Roseland, and today officials scaled back the evacuation zone, but the response continues to expand. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for watching. I'm Katie Moore.
And I'm Sharice Gibson. So tonight we're following the impacts of that massive fire at Smitty Supply in Arcola with soot and chemicals that were spread out throughout the air and in the Tangipahoa River.
Yeah, and here's a look at the new evacuation zone. It's the stretch of Highway 51 right next to Smitties, plus parts of Highway 10 and 1048. Now, people living outside the streets in red there were allowed to return home today.
And we have team coverage tonight. Whitney Miller joining us now live along the Tangipahoa River, talking to people about what they're seeing and smelling on the water miles downstream. Whitney, what are you seeing there?
Right at the edge. We're right at the edge of Hammond and Robert. We're about a 30-mile drive from where this all took place. And what we're seeing on the Tangipahoa River is that there is like a sheen, oil sheen, that is floating down the river. If Robert can get a little bit of that. And you can also see that there is this kind of rainbow film that is in the water when the water hits it, when the light hits it just right. I want to tell you that, you know, some of the neighbors we spoke to, they're concerned because there are some river boats that have been going through the river and they are kind of making a wake and pushing some of the water up. And the residents here tell me they're concerned that that water could, with oil in it, could get onto their property. So they want to see this cleaned up as soon as possible. Take a listen to one of the neighbors I spoke with just a few minutes ago about what they're seeing out here on the Tangipahoa River.
We came out today and it was worse this morning, so I know they're trying to clean up upriver. It seems like maybe that's working, but I'm sure you can smell it, and if you stay out here too long, it can become a little overwhelming, but this is what we have.
Yeah.
It's concerning because it also goes out into Lake Pontchartrain.
Yeah, and as she said, you know, when it comes to the smell, I'm going to take this out my ear. When it comes to the smell and when it comes to the taste and that headache, I don't have a headache just yet, but when we did come out here, I was smelling some of the fumes. It's, you know, once you're out here for a little while, you can't really tell if you're still smelling it or not. But I will say that you can taste something in the air out there. And Robin, if you want to take a look again, just so they can get a sense of what this looks like on the water, you can see the black oil in the water floating downriver. Again, this is about 30 miles in a car, probably a little bit less downriver. And there are those boats, like we said, that are driving through, even though we saw one come through, even though the river is closed. So the residents here, again, they're saying that they would like for this to be cleaned up as soon as possible. And the concern, obviously, is that it could go out into the Mississippi River, and they hope that that does not happen. For now, in Hammond, Whitney Miller, WWL, Louisiana.
Yeah, Whitney, you know, looking at that oil on the water, that is unbelievable. It raises a lot of questions, including where's the boom? What's happening with that?
And they said they were supposed to be booming that area, and the Department of Environmental Quality is supposed to be out in that area testing to see just kind of water quality and air quality as well. Speaking of that, the leaders inside of Tangipahoa Parish just held a press conference. Alyssa Curtis was inside of that press conference, joining us now live with the latest on what they had to say. Alyssa, what do you have?
Conference just wrapped up just literally minutes ago. We just heard from Governor Jeff Landry and members of the EPA, the LDEQ, and others. They said that the fire is now 98% contained, so they are making progress with that. They also mentioned miraculously there have been no injuries, no deaths, considering how large that fire and that explosion was. They are very thankful, and I'm sure everyone kind of can agree with that. The governor said that the EPA and the LDEQ are really taking lead on this. Those both agencies are continuously taking testing both of the air quality and of the water. They are deploying several resources to make sure that the air quality is okay for residents to be outside. They say as of right now, they have not gotten anything concerning back from the air quality testing. Again, that some of that air monitoring is happening in real time and continuously, but as of right now, they have not shown any levels that would prompt them to take any action as of right now. But some of that testing will take some time to get back. So they didn't have many answers for us when we asked what kind of materials were burned, what kind of materials were contained after that explosion and after that fire, what has been taken from the water. There's a lot of unanswered questions still as they await the results of that testing, and they are doing, it seems like, several rounds of testing to make sure they can give us some proper information. But the governor said this was a very unique situation because at the same time that that fire happened and the explosion, in the immediate aftermath, there was some rain and a rainstorm. Take a listen to what Governor Landry had to say.
When that fire broke out, there was a big rainstorm. And so that rainstorm, because of that rainstorm basically coming over that plume of smoke, brought all the particulates that were in the air to the ground. That doesn't mean that what landed on the ground was utterly toxic. But that's what happened. In fact, if there wouldn't have been a rain event, you probably wouldn't have seen much. And so, again, we are going to make sure that we put out the most accurate information that the public has. But from what I've been told, from what I can see, there really is no imminent danger to any life or property other than we have to clean up a big mess.
Now, just being throughout the community in the past several days, I've spoken to a lot of you guys who have a lot of soot, oily substance on your homes and your properties, and I asked them if there's going to be any resources to help residents now kind of deal with the mess that is now left behind. Governor Landry said that he doesn't know yet if people should be cleaning that because they want to wait to see what those testing results look like, but he says it may be the situation where you guys can just wash it off right now. I'm going to try and get some more clarifying information from the governor on what residents should do and exactly what is in that material and that substance that's on a lot of your properties at home. The ATF and the state fire marshal will be doing an investigation to try and figure out what the cause of the explosion is. Again, they say it is now 98% contained, and thankfully no injuries. Of course, this is an ongoing situation, day by day, hour by hour. We're getting new and more information. So, of course, as soon as we get anything else, we'll let you know. Reporting live in Tangipahoa Parish, Alyssa Curtis, WWL Louisiana.
Alyssa, I was in Amy this weekend and saw car lines down the block, really, for people trying to wash that oil or whatever that slick substance is off of their vehicles. Thank you so much for that update. Also curious to know how contained and what containment actually means here when you say 98% contained versus 100%. Well, as we move on, people who are around the site of the fire have been wondering what they have been breathing in and if it's safe to breathe in, really. Air quality monitoring by the EPA, Louisiana DEQ, as we just talked about. Now, we're told that show levels of toxic chemicals either as non-detectable or below actionable health thresholds. Now, still, environmental scientists say people with chronic health conditions, especially some lung problems, should avoid exposure. Don't do any strenuous exercise or work outdoors near the fire. In general, healthy people can handle a small exposure for a short amount of time.
Will your air conditioner in your house and in your car filter this out?
It will filter the particulates. So that unburnt carbon, usually the black stuff, it will do nothing though for the gases and vapors, which would include benzene or formaldehyde.
And the same goes for those thicker N95 masks that we became familiar with. We remember during COVID, it can filter out those soot particles in the air, but not the toxic gases.
So lots of questions remain about this situation. And while not unexpected, we've already seen 3 separate lawsuits filed against Smitties as a direct result of Friday's explosion and fire.
Yeah, the suits were filed Monday, so we don't really have any details just yet. But investigative reporter Mike Pearlstein joining us in studio here to discuss what we know so far. Mike.
Well, Sharice, Katie, lawsuits happen. We know that. And the 3 lawsuits filed today include at least one from a local Roseland resident, although we don't know if that person was in that 1-mile evacuation area declared by officials. My search of lawsuits and other regulatory action against the 56-year-old privately held company also includes a lawsuit filed just last month claiming that a toxic spill in July 2024 damaged a nearby farm. These lawsuits, filed with the Tangipahoa Clerk of Court, is in addition to state and federal regulatory action taken against the company. Earlier, we revealed 2 6-figure fines paid by Smitties to settle environmental complaints. Today, I found 2 fines paid recently to OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, one for an employee who was fatally crushed by a truck in 2020, and another for a worker who suffered severe burns in which hot grease struck her in the face in 2021. Now, Katie and Sharice, I did reach out, or tried to reach out, for an attorney for Smitties who's been listed in these prior lawsuits and regulatory complaints, but we have not yet heard back.
Now, this is a Roseland employee,
yes.
not
I'm sorry,
Raceland.
yes,
Yeah,
Roseland, that's correct.
Roseland.
Apologize. And-
Resident, not employee. Roseland.
And that was an address, and Roseland, as we know, is quite small. It looks like that was in the vicinity of the plant. The petitions were not online yet. They were just filed today, so we expect that we'll be getting more detailed information on that in the coming days.
All right, Mike, thank you so much for that update. We have a lot to talk about here, so we want to go through some of the latest updates on the explosion, the fire. All the nearby schools except for one reopened today. Roseland Montessori will resume classes tomorrow, and officials say air quality tests have been conducted. The school was given the all clear. The campus has been cleaned inside and out as an extra precaution. Now, for displaced employees at Smitty Supply, there was a worker transition center open at the Tangipahoa Parish American Job Center at Hammond. That's where you can get help with any resumes or job applications and to file for unemployment insurance. The center is open from 8 to 4 all this week, and we will have continuing coverage of this investigation of the fire and the response to this. Look for the latest updates on our website, our free smartphone app, as well as our social media pages.